Leo XIV, who has been in the headlines a lot this week, is calling for dialogue in Cameroon as he visits the country amid a long-running conflict. His message comes at a time of growing global tensions and has drawn criticism from Washington, with Vice President JD Vance urging the Pontiff to be more cautious in his remarks on the Iran war. Our chief Africa correspondent, Jennifer Zabasajja, joins us from Johannesburg. So the Pope is making this very high-profile visit to Africa. What is the significance for the continent?
Exactly, Jumana. We're already seeing some of the symbolism of this trip by the Pope to the continent. We'd seen his visit actually triggering a 3-day truce in Cameroon, as you were just speaking out there, which has been in the midst of a years-long conflict. That is just sort of underscoring this message of peace and unity that he has tried to push out there, not just for the continent, but also for a number of global conflicts that he has been publicly outspoken about. So we did see the Pope kicking off his 10-day tour in a Muslim majority nation in Algeria, becoming the first Pope to ever visit that nation. And then, as you were just noting, he is traveling to Cameroon. He's currently in Cameroon and is actually going to be directly in conflict zones where he is again going to be touting this message of peace over unity and potentially even continuing some of the messaging that we did hear from him on Wednesday, which was about really pushing for development and the need to end what he was describing as corruption in a crowd that, I should note, included the president, Paul Biya, one of the world's oldest leader, who recently actually secured an 8th term in power. So the significance really is multiple for not just the Vatican, but also for the continent. We should also note, though, that he moves on from Cameroon to Equatorial Guinea and also to Angola, where they are largely dominated by Catholics. But many observers really see this as a pushing forward of what the Vatican really seems to be shifting towards more of a focus on the global South and really what has become the fastest growing region for this religion in the world.
Yeah, and look, I think we need to address the fact that the president himself, President Trump, has been heavily criticizing the Pope for not being supportive enough, perhaps, of U.S.'s foreign policy interventions. Equally, JD Vance also criticizing. What is the White House risking in the efforts to push back against the Pope?
And you pointed it out there, Jumana. We really saw a lot of this public feud escalating at the beginning of the week, and it didn't seem to tamper down any more so as the Pope has been traveling throughout the continent. So really, if we think about what this represents just for a minute here, the first American-born Pope and the U.S. president publicly feuding, that is setting up quite a showdown and potentially political fallout for the U.S. president. We've already seen that playing out. We should note the U.S. has an approximate population of just over 50 million Catholics, which we should just point out the last election in 2024, much of the Catholic population was very key for Trump to winning the 2024 election. So potentially we could see some alienation of an electorate that was supportive of him in this last election, not just from a domestic level, Jumana. We've also seen some of the fallout more from other global leaders. We saw earlier in the week, we actually had Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni calling Trump's comments about the Pope unacceptable. Meanwhile, we've seen the Pope continuing to double down on what he has talked about, which is his opposition to a number of military interventions. And we should note that this is not the first time that we have seen some of this public disputes between these two. This really started last year at the beginning of the administration over immigration policies, and again sort of continued as we saw U.S. intervention in Venezuela, now into the Middle East. And so it seems like there is a bit of a doubling down on both sides. Potentially, though, the fallout, though, is higher stakes for the U.S. president.